Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. In front of us at the moment it's a SketchUp drawing. Surprise, surprise. But it's really not into the SketchUp group of videos, it's more of the workshop videos. And I was considering the requirements that a new cabinet that I'm about to make will require. So I thought, let's make a workshop or a Dave's Diary update via the SketchUp program, and that's what we're doing. So anyone that have seen the videos thus far on the MFT style of top that I'm building will know that I required to use the drill press for my particular scenario, or I am able to use the drill press in my particular scenario to create the MFT style of top. Leaving that aside, I had a requirement to have an extended table put on the drill press. As such, I realised a little bit late in the game that it needed braces. And I was quite surprised that the braces were needed, but when you think about it and how levers work, once I just imagine that I didn't have braces there, once I'd made up this auxiliary top and bolted it or screwed it well to the base, I was quite surprised, shouldn't have, but I was quite surprised at how little amount of pressure would be needed to exert a twisting action to the table. And I'm thinking because it was so strong when it looked like that the metal base or table was going to be very strong. Thank you very much. I'll bolt an auxiliary table on and I can get to drilling holes. Yeah, well, as it turned out, a little bit of pressure here, that's 900 from the centre line out to this point, 900 millimetres. A little bit of pressure here actually tweaked the table. Darn it. I was quite surprised, but one of the things I cannot have is that occurring, because any twisting of this base will misalign, of course, the hole that would be drilled in the item that I want drilled accurately. So long story short, let's just add braces to it. Oh yay, says I, isn't that a good idea? Yeah, well, it was up until the point that I realised that I needed something more to the cabinet that I'm building, this one here, than the existing cabinet actually has. And to be fair, it's not much, but not much is also a little bit of a nuisance. And what it was that I had nowhere for the brace to attach or thrust onto, and in my infinite wisdom I thought that I would just have it like this. It would nest into something that doesn't actually exist on the current cabinet, where the brace could come down, nest into the wall and the little extension here, and I could put a bolt as represented by this here. Whoops, I can have the bolt that I could turn so that it can give a little bit of fine tuning to the brace. Simple. So that little extension of the base of the cabinet was what triggered my idea of, let's do the darn cabinet now. Yeah. So I'm going to. Rather than trying to cobble together the bits and pieces required for this brace, I thought, look, I'm going to do this at some stage in the near future anyway. Let's do it now. And it also, fuzzy logic, meant that part of the cabinet made up of 25 millimetres, I've got a little bit of melamine of that size, I can get it out of the way. That in itself is a bit of a bonus, because at the moment it's being a pain in the neck where it's sitting and it's blocking other cabinets in the workshop. So I thought, oh look, let's just do it now. It will delay getting to making the MFT top. I'm waiting for a couple of little components that hopefully will arrive this week. Better. and then I can get onto it. So I've got a little bit of time on my hands. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm currently at the stage where I've made this. Of course, I've just mentioned that, and it is bolted to the table, mentioned that, and I have put this brace on. Just put a couple of little door hinges on here to let it swing each end, sort of thing. And then I realised, I didn't have that little ledge to locate it on, so that's where I'm at. Then I also thought, and this is actually what generated this video, I was worried about the leverage factor up and down here tweaking the table. Well, I've actually created a lever here that, if I'm not very careful, would twist the top in this direction, rotate it, because if that moves sideways, it's going to affect the alignment of this top. Again, not aiding to my requirement to have the holes drilled as accurately as possible and consistently in the top, in the item that I want. The pieces of melamine that I'm drilling, 300 to 400 wide, that's okay, but some of the pieces are 2.4 meters long. So by the time I come out, say from the point here out 2.3 meters, there is a lot of overhang out here, causing a lot of pressure on this. And when I move the panel in and out this way, I could induce twist if I'm not careful here, and if the brace itself isn't in the correct alignment, it itself could cause problems. So anyway, easily remedied, said I. Let's just run some pieces that locate and restrict the movement of the brace. Very simple. Then when I was looking at this little mock-up of what I want to build, and the reason I build them is that I considered, hang on, if I want to lift the table up and make use of this sort of extension table, auxiliary table, and if I wanted to lift it up, this static length of brace won't have anything to thrust against. So, if I were to lift the table and the braces, because they're attached, if I wanted to move it up, say, let's say 100 millimeters, like that, I've got nothing for the brace to attach because it will just swing down. And I thought, that's easily fixed. If I know what that lift dimension is, and I just mentioned it was 100 millimeters, I can pop a little panel that's 100 millimeters in there, and then my little adjustment bolt, the head of the bolt, has got something to thrust against. So that's a simple fix. I just have to know that the height that I just lifted it up would have the requirement, but obviously once it's in position, this will still be held level enough for me to find whatever length of packer I need in the bottom there, and then it's not a fine engineered piece of engineering in this case. It's something that works in the woodworker's workshop for the very rare occasion that this top will ever be used in the future for something different than what it was intended for at the outset. So yeah, like I said, strips of melamine to be drilled with a 20mm hole. This is the setup that would achieve it. That it's used for anything else, I don't know what that something else would be, and it would still be able to be used in the manner, because I'm trying to explain very badly the way that it could be used in the future. So anyway, long story short, I'm going to add a couple of fillets to the side where the braces naturally want to sit. They may well be a bit longer, they may lift them up a little bit more, but really I'm limited by the amount of lift here that I'm able to achieve. Plus, for minor changes in height, now let's just back a bit. I'm going to quickly, I hadn't thought about doing this, but I'll do it right now. I am going to make an auxiliary piece of melamine act as a sacrificial surface, not the table itself. It can be, but I don't want it to be. So having a second piece of melamine act as my sacrificial surface, I can also pack that up. Whoops, let's just move that. I can pack that up and put packing pieces underneath it to give me my adjustment. And that's why I was okay with building this with a static length brace. Otherwise I would have perhaps considered having a two-piece brace that could extend and contract a little bit. But wanting to keep it simple and for the end use that I've got at the moment, static length brace was fine. But this means that the sacrificial surface can be lifted up and down with packers to mostly make this redundant. Oops, croaky old voice this morning. I think it prudent to at least build in the facility for what I've just explained, that these two fillets restrict the movement this way of the brace and locates it should I lift the table up and require this to be still it would maintain its position and alignment. So I'm building into the new cabinet, this one, the facility that may or may not be wanted but is there when it is. So that's it. And it came about because the cabinet that I've already got there is orientated a little bit differently from this. It doesn't have the open side to the front of the drill press. No, I can't just turn the drill press round on the existing cabinet because it's not sized correctly. And I needed these little extensions to the bottom piece. That would mean a lot of mucking around being able to do that on the existing cabinet and it not interfere with the open side, because this brace would be in the way of the open side of the existing cabinet. Hence there was lots of little things that, hey, I just said let's do it now. Let's make the cabinet, use up some of the 25mm panel that I've got which is getting in the way, make all the adjustments and requirements for this particular purpose. It's not going to take long. Get it built. Don't worry about too many of the other details, and they can be added on later, like clashing off the edges. Normally I would clash the 25mm edge with a 25mm piece of timber, then assemble it, and then everything's much tidier. But the downside is if I were to clash all the edges of the, say, the top, that clashing piece would be hanging over the melamine itself, meaning my fixings aren't as robust. So I wanted to make the top as the box rather as strong as possible, and I wanted the top to bear fully on the 25mm piece of the two walls, possibly even the back, and they bear directly on the base. So pre-clashing it and then assembling it introduces some of those problems. Here I make up the box, get it working, and at sometime in the not too distant future, of course, I could clash off the edges and make it look a little bit tidier. But it's a compromise. Besides which, if I made the clashing strips a little bit wider, yeah, they disappear the joint there. So again, making it appear tidier. So there we go. It may well be that I leave the bottom raw, or I may extend this out a little bit. Who knows? But that may get clashed off or may not in the future as well. Probably will get clashed. And then a shelf or some drawers put in at that later stage. All these things. SketchUp model drew some of them to my attention. I can now go out into the workshop. It's a rainy old day today. Really, basically we should be in the middle of summer. It ain't summer out there at the moment, I can tell you. I can go out to the workshop, cut down to size these panels, and start getting into it. And as I said before, get it assembled, make it be that it will be a little bit utilitarian, so that I can start using it again as a drill press, because really, after all, that is what I want to be doing, not concentrating on making lovely looking cabinets. So that's where we're at, and back into the Dave's Diary set of videos for the melamine top, which I really want to have some progress to show, and so we can move ahead with that. Waiting for a couple of items to arrive. If I haven't mentioned that already, I'm waiting for a couple of tiny little items that will help me move forward in marking out and drilling the holes. So there's all that. Rightio, with that I will wander off and leave you alone, but that's where we're at, and just my thoughts at the moment. Rightio, that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.